Hotty Toddy hits the road for the first time this season as Ole Miss and Wake Forest do battle in Winston-Salem. We're here previewing, predicting, and breaking down this game between the Rebels and the Demon Deacons. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips. He's Cole Thompson. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. This segment brought to you by our friends over at GameTime. If you need tickets, download the GameTime app and use promo code SECU for $20 off your first purchase. Again, that's GameTime, promo code SECU to get $20 off today. Ole Miss hits the road for the first time this season as they take on Wake Forest in an SEC-ACC clash. We are here previewing, predicting, and breaking down this game, and helping me do so, my good friend, Cole Thompson. Cole, what's going on, man? Appreciate you taking the time.
Man, now I have to go watch the CW network for the first time in God knows how long. But you know what? It's okay, because Darknado is going to be slinging it around the yard like no one's business. He could just feel like he's right back at home. And by the way, congratulations to you, Ole Miss, because last week you decided to go ahead and choose violence through the air. This week you chose violence through the ground. And once again, I just feel like the smartest man on earth to believe that Lane Kiffin is not messing around. And people are about to find out exactly what the Rebels are like when they don't have the home crowd behind them.
Yeah, Cole, honestly, I've got to check my YouTube TV and make sure I have CW network. I got to be honest. I can't tell you the last time.
That was the very first thing I did this week was make sure I had that.
I think I do, but I can't tell you the last time I flipped to CW. Either way, in case you haven't figured it out, this game is on the CW network, a 6:30 p.m. Eastern time kickoff there in Winston-Salem at a Legacy Federal Credit Union Stadium. Nothing screams college stadium like that sponsor. Ole Miss is a 23.5-point favorite. The over-under is set at 63.5 in this game. Cole, funny enough, the series history, Wake Forest leads this 2-0 all time. The last meeting, 2008, Wake Forest won 30-28. So maybe some revenge on the mind for the Ole Miss Rebels. The Demon Deacons last year went 4-8, 1-7. They are 1-1 currently at this point in the season, with a win over North Carolina A&T in their opener and lost to Virginia last week. Heartbreaking fashion, 31-30 in that game. 11 starters are back from a season ago, 5 on offense, 6 on defense. Hank Backmeyer is their QB1. He threw for over 400 yards, Cole, against Virginia. Damon Claiborne is the man who leads their offense at the running back position. Donovan Green, Taylor Moore to the top targets at wideout. The offensive line returned just 2 starters from a season ago. Defense did give up 357 yards passing to Virginia, Cole. So Darknado and company, I'm sure, will have that front of their mind. Jasheen Davis, Kevin Pointer, Kendron Wayman lead the way up front. And again, the secondary, like I mentioned, gave up that 357 yards. They had just 1 starter coming back this year, and Evan Slocum at the safety spot. So, Cole, before we dive into the actual, the ins and outs of this game, the matchup, if you will, Wake Forest, bottom tier ACC team. We talked about Ole Miss's schedule coming into the year. I don't know if folks are going to try to make more of this one than they probably should, but this definitely, again, feels like another week. Yes, Ole Miss is going on the road, but it should be another opportunity for Darknado, Jaxson Dart, like you mentioned, all the offensive weapons, the running game, which really got going last week against Middle Tennessee State. It should just be another opportunity for Ole Miss to continue to build confidence before SEC play begins.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm just going to be completely transparent. There was this high horse by the name of Notre Dame coming off of winning against an SEC squad, and look what happened at home. So you never want to get too complacent when you have to play against a team that last week threw for over 350 passing yards. Hank Backmeyer comes with multiple years of starting experience when he was at Boise State. Then he went to Louisiana Tech. He lost a starting job last year. He goes down to Winston-Salem. He's paired with Dave Clawson. And Clawson is a good game manager. He knows how to keep the course moving. He has a good dialect, and he's always been able to keep usually Wake Forest in this winnable approach. Maybe it's not a 10-win season. Maybe they won't make it to a prominent bowl game like they have in years past when Sam Hartman was there. But they were a team that was pumping out NFL talent. They were a team that was able to consistently hold their own in ACC play. And that's testament to the head coach. There was a few years ago when you looked at Clawson as one of the hot names on the market that potentially could go elsewhere, and he decided to stick around in Winston-Salem. He was a very good fit for the program. He has the ideologies of what you want there. But it just feels like sometimes it comes back to bite you in the ass. And this is one of those moments where you're not on the hot seat because of all the good you've done out for the program, but you definitely feel like that eventually change is inevitable. Mark Stoops is feeling that right now in Lexington. It's kind of the same thing for a guy like Dave Clawson. But also, you got to realize for Ole Miss, don't get complacent. Don't take your foot off the gas. And I mean this because last week, the one caveat in a 52-3 win, which again, here we are pulling hairs to try and find flaws in a performance where, again, your quarterback sets an NCAA record. Oh, by the way, the running back that left for 2 years to go on a vacation to Miami has 4 rushing touchdowns and looks like the epitome of Quinshon Judkins 2.0. You did allow over 250 passing yards through the air. So you don't want to allow a team like Wake Forest to maybe go ahead and get a little bit of momentum early on to where it does become a bit of a dogfight at the end of the game. I don't think it will. I think that we both can agree Ole Miss has kind of carried this rat poison mentality, stay the course, but you just never know. You hear Steve Sarkisian say, we won against Michigan. UTSA could give us trouble. Can Wake Forest give you trouble, Ole Miss?
It is one of those games, Cole. Again, college football is crazy. Okay,
yes.
College football is weird. I'm not saying that this being a close game in the second half would be the craziest thing we've ever seen, but it would also sort of surprise me. And that's just been my biggest question, Cole, is, is this more of a test than Middle Tennessee State, and I've already forgotten who the opener was. Furman Powell. Is this
how
more
dare
of a,
you, good
how
sir?
dare me?
Good
I know.
Furman.
How dare me? Is this more of a test? Yes. Is it a test for this Ole Miss team? I don't know that it is. I really don't. Now, with what they have on the roster, I just don't know that it is. And again, it starts, you look at the numbers, and I know numbers lie, but the secondary, I'm praying for those young men in that secondary, because what we're seeing from Trey Harris, what we're seeing from Juice Wells, what we're seeing from Caden Prescore, I mean, it is pick your poison. I mean, they've got so many different weapons. Again, kudos to Ole Miss, because my biggest question, Cole, for Ole Miss early in the season was, how do you get fired up to show up? It might actually help Ole Miss, Cole, going on the road this week, because Lane Kiffin's, asking his crowd, stay to the end of the game. People are leaving. Now there's a new form of motivation. Hey, we're going into hostile territory. I mean, I don't know if Wake Forest is going to sell the thing out or what the crowd's going to be like, but you're at minimum going up against people who don't like you, who are not pulling for you. And I'm sure Ole Miss will travel well, but I will be curious to see, do they get tested in some capacity? To your point, I'm probably leaning to no, but this is at minimum the biggest test Ole Miss has faced to this point. So maybe we start to learn something a little bit.
Chris, you're one of my dearest friends. I absolutely love working with you, but let me also be the one to say I will not buy into this rat poison. We have Lane Kiffin that follows us on Twitter. We have Lane Kiffin that follows us on the gram. We are making sure that we stay the course. There is the truth to this. You are right. Compared to the competition they will face off against in the SEC, it is nowhere near even close to being combative. But think about this way. Every single game that you will see Ole Miss play from here on out is another test and another step. It's like brick by brick leading up to your major milestone, which could now be South Carolina, depending on the outcome Saturday. But if it's not South Carolina, it certainly is October 12th when you get to go down to Death Valley and play against LSU. The level of competition is only going to continue to raise. You play against now Wake Forest, then you play Georgia Southern. If at best being a progressively upward move, it's at least a metaphorical idle move when it comes to level of competition. Then you play Kentucky. Say what you want about their offense. Say what you want about their performance against South Carolina. It's an SEC team. It's an SEC game. Wins matter more here than anywhere else. That is a tougher test. South Carolina's got a defense that can easily go toe-to-toe with most offenses in the SEC. Do they have an offense at that point that can go toe-to-toe? And then, of course, you don't want to fall for the trap games against an Oklahoma, against potentially, you look at other teams on the schedule that aren't Georgia. You look at potentially in Arkansas, Florida for that matter, a Mississippi State in the Egg Bowl. So, yes, this is a tougher game than the week before. Yes, it's not an SEC level toughness game, but it's a mental aspect thing. The way that you prepare in the week for this game should be another stepping stone in the way you prepare for the games when the SEC logo is attached to it. That is why this is a testament and why it is a test for Ole Miss. It has nothing to do with the players. It has nothing to do with the style. It has nothing to do with the on-field excellence or analysis or the X's and O's. This is all a mentality standpoint. So what you set internally, great teams that carry themselves with a certain brand, a certain bourgeois, a certain attitude and an aura, They're the ones that when we talk about November are not playing for a nice bowl game. They're playing for a shot to go win a conference title and definitely a college football playoff berth.
And to your point, Cole, like I said, I've been really impressed with the way Ole Miss has attacked this thing. There hasn't been, we're getting to halftime, kind of like what Alabama did with South Florida, and it's some strange score, right? I mean, it was 31-3 at the break last week, and Ole Miss kept the foot on the gas pedal. I'm excited to see, too, Cole, on the offensive side for them. Again, it's all the focus is on your boy Dart Nato, Jaxson Dart, the receivers. But you mentioned Henry Parrish Jr. I mean, 14 for 165, 4 touchdowns. Does he continue to establish himself as the top back? Because I think that was the question, right? With Quinshon Judkins leaving, we felt like Ulysses Bentley was maybe the top candidate to emerge as that bell cow back. But, I mean, after what Henry Parrish Jr. did, that was a heck of an outing. How does he build off of that? How does he follow that up? And, are we going into SEC play talking about Parrish leading the way in the backfield for the Rebels?
But do you have to have a lead back? That's kind of the beauty. Yeah, but then that's kind of the beauty of what this Ole Miss offense is that you get a really good game from Henry Parrish. The week before, you get a really good game from Matt Jones. You get some good plays from Ulysses Bentley. What if this is the Rashad Amos breakout game? What if he's now rushing for 130 yards and 2 tutties? What if instead you're getting a great performance from Dominique Thomas? What if you're getting a good performance from Austin Simmons as a mobile athlete in the open field to where maybe you run some trick plays with him? The beauty about this offense is that everybody can be that X factor. Everyone can have their moment. I agree with you. Henry Parrish right now has got to be like feeling on cloud 9, leaves a program that was on the cusp of becoming a really great roster, goes down to Miami, has a 2-year vacation, kind of helps to restabilize that program, comes back, full circle moment. And now Quinshon Judkins is up in Columbus, splitting carries with Travion Henderson, and he kind of feels like the dude. He kind of feels like, I'm Van Wilder going on my revenge tour. Everyone's going to be partying with me afterwards at the Goat House. We're all enjoying ourselves. But you want to carry that. And also, what's crazier is that if you have more than just a guy like Henry Parrish being a great running back, let's say that this is the Rashad Amos breakout game. And what if it's as a pass catcher? Like it's 6 receptions for 98 yards and 2 touchdowns. Well, now you can win on the ground with Henry Parrish and Ulysses Bentley. You can win on the ground on 3rd down with Matt Jones. You get a pass catching back in Rashad Amos. You still have Jordan Watkins. Trey Harris is one of the top receivers in the country. Juice Wells feels fine and comfortable in this offense. Caden Prieskorn is one of the best tight ends. Your quarterback has just set more records. Oh, by the way, here's another All-American status attached to his name and another SEC Player of the Week accolade. I mean, it looks like an unstoppable force, which again, everyone's talking about this being the Last Dance. The Last Dance was a team that you did not want to mess with when they were on their B game. Now imagine what they look like when they're on their A game.
Cole, do you think Jaxson Dart sees the 4th quarter in this game? I'm kind of getting ahead of myself because we're about to get into predictions, but no, I mean, I think the other thing too has been so impressive. Obviously, Ole Miss, again, because of the way they've played, they've been able to really flex their depth. They've been able to empty their bench. So many guys defensively as well. And that's something that's going to help them obviously down the road. So to your point, you mentioned it earlier, kind of the ramp up. I mean, it's a beautiful way to start the season, man. You're able to really figure out what you have, put some other guys and give them opportunities to make some plays. You've seen the backup quarterback play a lot. You mentioned you've seen like 6 or 7 running backs per game. Almost, I think, double-digit guys catching a pass. So many defensive guys making plays. So it is certainly a luxury the way Ole Miss has been able to, again, cruise into this season. I mean, they're taking care of business, obviously, foot on the gas pedal, but kind of ramp up. Now the competition steps up a little, but still an opportunity, I think, for Ole Miss to beat up on a Power 4 team and flex their muscles yet again. So cleaning up the pass defense, by the way, was the one thing I was going to say defensively. Listen, late in game, I'm not looking into this. We're splitting hairs. Like I said, we're splitting hairs. You give up, 250 passing yards, I believe, last week. Wake Forest last week throws for 400, over 400 yards. Maybe that's something to watch, not giving up explosives in the passing game. But again, I don't look too crazy deep into those numbers in the Middle Tennessee State game. I think a lot of those are junk plays, junk yardage, if you will. On that note, Cole, let's get into our predictions for the game. I'll go ahead and start here. I feel like I'm as in love with betting Ole Miss spread as I am betting anybody right now. I don't know. Last week I bet 40.5, and I will not normally bet a spread that big, but this team's a machine, man. And 23.5 this week. If you're going to tempt me with a good time, I'll take it. I feel like here I'm even maybe being a little insulting to the Ole Miss defense, but I'm going to roll with it anyways. I've got Ole Miss running away with this yet again. I think Jaxson Dart's going to be fantastic. Doubt he plays the fourth quarter. I think he might make it through 3, but I doubt he plays the fourth quarter. I think Ole Miss is going to cruise again. Maybe Wake Forest is able to hit a big play or two in the passing game. I mean, I'm sure Ole Miss at some point is going to show they're mortal, but hardly. I got Ole Miss winning this game 45-17. Another huge day from the offense. And I think defensively, again, there may be a big play or two, a big explosive or two, but I think the Ole Miss defense will, for the most part, be solid, and I think the Rebels will cruise to another big win.
So Jaxson Dart in week 1 decided to become the first quarterback since Joe Burrow to have 350 passing yards and 5 touchdowns in a half, and Joe Burrow won the Heisman Trophy. And then last week, Jaxson Dart, my pick to win the Heisman Trophy, Dartnado, the prince that was promised to the city of Oxford, decided to set an NCAA record for the most completions in a row and nearly finished with a 100% completion rating when he left the game. He currently is number 1 in passing yards in college football, number 1 in quarterback rating, number 2 in completion percentage, top 10 in passing touchdowns. Oh, and if that's not good enough for you, he's yet to have a turnover. And it's all happening without him playing in the fourth quarter for the most part. And you want to sit here and tell me, but who has he played against? How can you have him in the conversation when you watch Quinn Ewers and Cam Ward? And I say to you, because when the stat lines read that against LSU, when the stat lines read that against Oklahoma, when the stat lines read that against Georgia, which lo and behold, yours truly was the only bold enough shindig in all of college football media to pick an upset where the Ole Miss Rebels are the ones trouncing and silencing that bulldog bite. Dartnado is going to be doing it against them, and he's just getting warmed up. So give me another 350 passing yards for the one and only number 2, who is number 1 in my heart. Give me another 5-touchdown day for the number 1 quarterback in the SEC. And even though I do wonder what this defensive backfield is going to look like at times, I still believe it's not enough to get past you. Also, give me a 3-sack day for J.J. Pegas up the middle. I want to see what he does in this performance. I'm going to go bold. I'm going to go brash. I'm going to say that the final score is 53-17. Dartnado, don't even have to worry about the fourth quarter. But what you do have to worry about is how quickly you get more first-place votes before you leave Winston-Salem.
Early leaders for the Heisman Trophy. It is hard to deny that Jaxson Dart is right there at the top, if not at the very top. So, guys, do you agree with us? Do you disagree? How do you think it plays out when Ole Miss and Wake Forest do battle on Saturday in Winston-Salem? Guys, appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. For Cole Thompson, I'm Chris Phillips. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in, and we'll catch you on the other side.